Hey there, Mike Dunn with Gaming Trend, and we're back again with another episode of Tabletop Throwdown. Dan Hinken is back as my guest host, and we have a special guest tonight, Mr. Jay Cormier of Off the Page Games, and I believe you have another thing going on. You've got a bunch of things going on. Wait, what am I talking about?
Fail faster.
You know what? Yeah, you
got lots.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, Jay.
My name is Jay. I like long walks on the beach. I actually don't. I don't even like that, actually. And my favorite color is purple, if you didn't know. And I've been designing games for a long time. I don't know, 20 some odd games are out there published and whatnot from various publishers. And then, about 4 years ago, started my own publishing company called Off the Page Games. Just prior to that, started a different company called Fail Faster, which is all about helping game designers be better game designers. So to that effect, I have a Fail Faster playtesting journal that's out there. I have a Fail Faster online game design program out there where I teach game design, and then a new thing called Design Your Destiny, which we may or may not talk about on this event.
Ooh, cool. Yeah, no, like I said, you got a lot going on, man.
My fingers
super
in things.
Cool. Yeah. I actually think the first time I came across your work, semi-knowingly, I actually backed your Fail Faster journal.
Oh,
yes.
that's nice.
And as a so that I think I got like 2 or 3 copies because I wanted to keep one to see what I'm fascinated by that sort of thing. Used to be a UX designer and
cool.
love like user testing and that sort of thing.
How did I do? You should give me a grade or something on that, on the UX of that book, if you remember.
It looked it. Oh gosh, I don't remember.
You'll have to go back. We'll circle back.
I have to look at it again.
On the spot.
Yeah, I gave one of the other copies to a relative of mine who was an aspiring game designer.
And now they're a millionaire.
As a Christmas gift.
A millionaire game designer.
I think they're still working on the same game, if I'm being honest. But it's funny. My son is actually. He's going to school for video game design down in Austin, and one of his assignments this semester was to create a board game. And apparently his teacher really liked the board game, and he's thinking about maybe getting a little serious with it. And I'm like, well, maybe I need to get him a copy of that book. So I hope you're still selling them.
Yep.
Excellent. But yeah, no, that was the first time, but I would say probably like literally right after I discovered Mind Management, which became one of my favorite games.
Mine too.
Yeah. We met at Gamma Expo a couple of years ago.
That's true.
And you showed us a very early version of Harrow County.
Right. Yeah.
And we got this like little
2 years in a row. We got Gaming Trend's Best of Gen Con award.
Yep, that too. Yes. So, big fans.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Jay, question for you. I know the most recent project with Off the Page Games. You've been doing some work with different graphic novels and kind of taking those ideas and putting them into the gameplay. Where did that idea come from, and how was that process?
Man, sometimes in life you just fall into things. Sometimes it's through luck, and sometimes it's through your preparedness in meeting that opportunity with experience that can guide you to success. And so we had met Matt Kint, who is the creator of the comic book Mind Management, at Gen Con many years ago. I'm talking like now it might be 8 or 9 years ago. And nice. It was actually because we met Cullen Bunn, coincidentally, and Brian Hurt of Six Gun fame, if you know comics. And we were talking about maybe turning that into a game, and there's issues with the rights of that one. But while we were there, they said, "Oh, you should meet Matt." And I'm like, "Matt who?" Hoping it was going to be Matt Kint. And I'm like, "Matt Kint, he's here." I'm like, "What?" I was a huge fanboy for Matt Kint. I literally have 2 pieces of his art hanging in my office prior to even meeting him. And so Matt Kint's here. So we got together. We played games all night during a Gen Con. It was great. And he had played one of our games that Sen and I made called Acrotiri, and he really liked it. and obviously we loved his stuff. And just offhandedly, like just an offhanded remark, he said, "You know, man, it'd be so cool if there was a mind management game out there. That'd be awesome." And Sen and I are like, "Could we make that for you?" And he's like, "Would you?" Like he was like almost as like excited as we were. Like, yes. And we're all like, you know, did the whole handshake kind of thing, and it was awesome. But the challenge was we failed miserably time and time again. Like 5 absolute from the alpha ground stage to a prototype playtesting, and wasn't it. Just we were not hitting it. We couldn't find it. It took years for us to find it, and wasn't until we got to the hidden movement concept we're like, wait, this actually feels like the experience, because we were trying to replicate like plot points and characters and that kind of stuff, and we should have just started with the emotional experience that the comic gives you and try to replicate that. And what almost immediately we might have thought of hidden movement if we were that smart back then. And so anyways, we made the game, everyone loved it, we pitched it to some people, a publisher picked it up, we had some choices, we went with a newer publisher. In hindsight, it was a good decision, but immediately in hindsight, it was a bad decision because 6 months later they went under. Ooh. And so we got the rights back, and we're like, oh, now we got to go back out in the world. We got to repitch it to who we're going to pitch it to, all this kind of stuff. And we're in a meeting with Matt and Sen and I, and it was Matt Kinn who just kind of said, why don't we just do it ourselves? He's like, you publish it and I'll do the art. I got graphic design background, so I'll do the graphic design. And I'm like, let's think about that. And so I went off and thought about it, and I thought at the time I was actually only part-time at my job doing 3 days a week, and I had 2 full days to do stuff. So I went to Sen and said, Sen, I'll do it, but no knock against you, but I just kind of want to do it on my own, not with you. You know, there's so much you can take a friendship along with. And then I think, you know, designing is one thing, but then running a business together, I think might be too much for some friendships to bear, let alone the fact that he's already got a full-time job teaching, that it's like his time is, you know, I think I would be doing all the work anyways.
Understandable.
Well, he's still making games, right? Like,
he is. Yeah. And he was 100% on board. He's like, yeah, go for it. And so at that moment, it was like, okay, cool. Now I'm like the fun part of like, oh, what am I going to call myself? And I'm like, I don't know. What am I going to stand for? I don't know about you, but so many game publishers out there, you know, their motto or their raison d'etre, if you will. I'm Canadian, so I got a little French in me. It feels potentially a little bit like wishy-washy of like, can you name one publisher, like look at a game and go, oh, that's obviously that publisher's game, or and there's some exceptions to that rule. I think Kids Table Board Game does a good job with that, and obviously Restoration Games, because that's a very obvious thing what they're doing. But a lot of other games, like we make, you know, good games or something is their mod, you know what I mean? And so I wanted something to hang my hat on, and I just thought, well, because this game is based on a comic, an indie comic, maybe all my games will be based on indie comics, having no other connections or knowledge or foresight into anything. That's what I did. So hence the name Off the Page Games is because I'm off the comic book page and onto the table. And that's where it started. And then once my management came out, then it was time to figure out what the second game was going to be. And that was when it started to be like, okay, maybe I had a game called Skirmishes with another fellow named Shad, and I'm like, this feels like a cool Kickstarter-y type of game. It's got a lot of components and factions and all this kind of stuff. But then I'm like, okay, well now it's going to be based on comics. So I'm like, okay, which comics have like fights in it? And I kind of thought about it for a long time, and I pitched it to one comic book writer, and he said he didn't fit anything of his, but he thought maybe it would fit in the Harrow County world. I'm like, oh, so circle back to Cullen Bunn, who I met so many years ago. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And I pitched it to him, and he said yes, more on the strength of my management and the output, because it was out by that time, and how, you know, strong it was in relating to the IP and honoring it and everything, because the game was weird and totally different than how it ended up, because it was a very symmetrical game and just not as tight as it is and ended up. But that's a quick story.
Very cool.
This is actually a very unique thing, unique experience that I had with mind management, in that the game itself was just attractive as hell. Like everything about it, like kind of hit all the right buttons for me. And I'm not like, I'm not a big like hidden movement, hidden role guy. As a matter of fact, I would say I probably hadn't had much experience with that type of mechanic.
And up to then, besides Scotland
before.
Yards, they were all like 2.5, 3 hour long games.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, no, Scotland Yard. That's actually pretty much the only other experience I had before that. And that was like years and years ago. But it actually got me into the comic.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
I just voraciously
good.
plowed through
Mm-hmm.
that series. And then the next time I played the game, it almost gave me chills. Like it was so perfect in the theme and the way it kind of, I don't know, it didn't follow the narrative of the comic as much as it followed the style and the ethos of the comic.
Yeah.
And
So
the,
two
the
things on that.
vibe.
One, I love that. That's what we were trying to do with my management of the game. Is like we didn't want to market just to mind management fans. We wanted to say, hey, here's a cool game. Check out this cool game, and people would check out the cool game, and then hopefully learn there's a comic and there's like, imagine I told you before this is like your favorite game, whatever it is, to Cal or Puerto Rico, and I said, hey, do you know that there's actually like a 36 issue comic book series about this? You'd be like, what? That really?
Yeah.
That's cool. I want to read that about your favorite game. So that's what we kind of got out of this. And two, I found this very funny. Matt Kindt did a 4-issue miniseries. Oh, now you froze again. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah. Just keep going.
You're good. You can keep cooking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you know this, but Matt Kindt did a 4-issue miniseries of mind management somewhat recently called Bootleg, and the storyline of that feels very much inspired from the game because you are in it. There is a recruiter going around trying to recruit other agents actively, and it's more the story of the game than the original comic, which I find is funny.
Yeah,
no, that's hilarious.
I think I loved it, and similar to what Mike said, I was unaware of the comic until I played the game, and I got to play it with just a group of friends, and I loved the game and how it shifts, and bought it and got it for my wife, and my wife and I have been playing through it, and even just I love the shift system and how it kind of goes, and you can add in the different modules, and it kind of balances out. I loved it. And then after reading the comic book, it was an easier entry IP to kind of really immerse myself in the artwork, where I could take another IP, say Lord of the Rings or something like that, where I've got novels this thick, where I can just continue just immersing myself in the world with the images and the artwork, and it all just kind of blends together. So I think that's what I've really enjoyed about the games that you guys have been producing, and I think it's just a great outlet that has a lot of future and staying power, just because they're so symbiotic between the two of them. So
one of my goals, obviously I was trying to make a great game, so that's great. And two, start a company, great. But my tertiary goal, that's a $5 word, meaning my third goal, was that I wanted to honor the IP so much that I wanted to have other comic book creators come to me to say, hey, can you do this for my comic? And it's happened. Our next game is because a very big comic book name came to me and said, please. And we're like, yes, of course. Not that I'm saying it's everybody, but that, to the one, because it's at the core thing, the comic book has to be a comic I love. It has to be, because I'm going to be living in that world for 2 years at least, if not 5 years sometimes. So I gotta sell it and pitch it and like demo it over and over again. So I gotta love the world, and I gotta be able to honestly
breathe
say,
it, man. You gotta
I
breathe
love
it.
this comic. So that's gotta be core part of it.
Yeah. Well, and I know we talked a little bit about Harrow County, and we touched on that a little bit. I haven't actually gotten a chance to play that, but I did get a chance to play Core of Discovery, which is based on the Manifest Destiny comics. And again, another one where I played the game and I went home and I immediately started reading, the flora and fauna.
And how great is that?
From the first, it was great.
It's
it was
so
amazing.
great.
So yeah,
and
as a history teacher, I loved the take on the different different Lewis and Clark expedition.
It's great, and it's what I like about it is it's not black and white. It's not, hey, Lewis and Clark are the good guys. It's got a lot of nuance. It starts out a little bit adventure-y, a bit kind of like Adventure of the Week type. Here's who's the new monster this week. But then it starts to get into all the stuff that Manifest Destiny is all about.
Yeah. Now, Jay, I gotta tell you, man. Like you, every time you come out with a new game idea, and the comic that it's based on, like that's the next comic I'm getting, right?
Yeah.
That is like,
I get you.
Is the first after that first time I tried Harrow County, I was like, all right, I got home. I'm like, okay, I got to read some of this.
Yeah.
And this is coming from like an old school comic collector. Like when I was a kid growing up in the 80s, I just devoured comics, and they've always been a love. I actually used to want to be a comic artist when I was a kid.
Awesome. You still can.
Well, I know. It's yeah.
You're still a kid.
I play games now.
I get you. Well, you're gonna love our next game because it's from that era.
Ooh, oh God! See this? You're teasing me, man. You're teasing me. No, I've loved every title, and it's kind of opened my eyes to a lot of material that I might not have otherwise looked into. Like I think the idea of like the conceit behind Manifest Destiny, which is the core of Discovery game, is based on. I was like, that sounds pretty cool, but
which is for those that haven't.
Yes. So Manifest Destiny, the comic, is we were just talking about it. It's based off of the Lewis and Clark expedition. However, in this version of it, there are monsters,
yes,
and aliens and weird stuff. And it's such a cool concept. But
it's really grounded too. Like it's really real.
Yeah. No, so I've been loving all of the titles that you've been, and I'm really like. You've done this a couple of times now on social media where you've been like, hey, does anybody have some indie comic ideas that we could maybe make into games? And like, I think you did it just a few days ago, and I've literally been racking my brains trying to think of something. Like I even mentioned Madman, but obviously
I saw that.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Madman.
I could possibly do that one. If I wanted to. It just feels too weird. I don't know what the heck the game would be, but I do know. Gosh. I am in connection with the IP owner on that one.
You know Mike? He's so cool. I
don't know him, but I'm in connection with him.
Gotcha. I only met him once. I met him at San Diego Comic-Con in 1998.
Awesome.
And I was there peddling my inks. I brought some ink samples, and I got about 50 different critiques. Everything from like, you know, one guy at an indie publisher saying, hey, you know, you're almost there, you're just a little more practice. Oh, I froze again. I'm gonna have to wait. That's irritating. Okay, here we go. Everything from like, you know, a small indie publisher telling me, oh, you know, you're almost there, you keep on practicing, and keep in touch, to Mike Carlin, who was editor-in-chief of DC at the time, basically just ripping me a new one. He's like, you call this a line? And I'm like, holy crap. It was cruel. I will admit that, but it was also very informative. It informed a lot of my career that came after that experience, because that's the first time, you know, because when I was growing up and I was drawing, like everybody was like, oh, you're so good. And then that was like the first time that I really got smacked around and like was like, oh, you know what? I need to work on a few things. And
I hope we didn't squash it too much though. You know what I mean?
No, well, no. It I was also we were also a few months away from expecting our first, my oldest. That's what squashed.
All that one's fault.
No. I got into web design and UX design and kind of parlayed those skills in a different path. but I still love comic art and still love comics. I've actually started collecting back issues that I used to have, and some I didn't used to have back in the day.
You know what I
Because
got is I've been carrying around white boxes for my entire life, every move, just tons of white boxes. And so I finally like started Googling like where can I'm a grown ass adult, I can afford to have like some fancy storage or something. So I started Googling and went on the whole hunt for how do people store comics, like single issue comics. And you know what the majority of people do are these legal filing cabinets that are like 2 or 3 stacks, and you pull the whole drawer out
oh
kind of thing,
yeah,
and then you
yeah.
put short boxes in there. You can fit 4 short boxes in, and then it's perfect. And I got that in my room, and it's just like everything looks great, and you can open a whole thing. It's great.
That's awesome.
Wow. Yeah, maybe I should do that. No, so we're both in Colorado Springs, right down the road from Mile High Comics up in Denver.
Oh, cool.
And I don't know if you've ever been to Mile High Comics.
Heard of it.
Obviously like they've had ads in comics since the like early 80s. I grew up seeing those ads and thinking that Mile High Comics was this magical place. And then I moved up here and then I went there and I was like, oh, it's a magical place. It really is a magical place. But Chuck, the owner, he does this thing that like he buys so many collections and has so many comics on hand at any given time that in order to keep sales going, he runs like 50-60% off sales of back issues. And then on top of that, if there are grades that run out, he just downgrades whole swaths of comics and sells them at lower grades.
Oh, wow.
And so I got hooked.
I can see that.
Yeah. And so, yeah, no, it hasn't been horrible, but I've been going back getting the weird stuff that I used to collect, right? Because that's a little on the cheaper side.
I grew up with comics and go every week to the comic store, but I was mostly like not too many, like I never ever got superhero comics. All my stuff was like Conan and Gru the Wanderer and all the horror comics, all the House of Mystery, all those kind of comics. So I was the person down on the floor looking through the single back issues that were sorted, and you would just randomly find something like, oh, I need that one. And every week, would at least once a week, if not twice, would be going to comic stores and just looking for stuff, and I loved it. And then eventually I kind of just got out of it, and what got me back, and I got out of it because Sandman ended. When Sandman ended, I stopped going to comic stores because I didn't have any reason to go anymore, which is kind of funny how powerful that was. And when I got back in was 10 years later when Neil Gaiman did another Sandman. He did that overture or something like that.
Yeah.
And it made me pick up. It literally worked. I picked up a few other things that I saw. This looks cool, and I got right back into it. And it's just wild how that one title really got me into comics again. Loved it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I see. And I got into it too late, or not too late, but there's never a bad time to start. But it was I remember in high school going into just looking through the library in my high school, and I found a copy of Watchmen in there, and that was my first real graphic novel. And of course, I went deep first, with that one. But after that,
most of the deep end right there.
Most of my stuff has all been the real graphic novelizations and the long form ones, and the serialized, and I worked my way through the Walking Dead stuff for a while, and I've done a lot of the Frank Miller stuff and his alternate takes on some of those big things. But and now as an adult and finding different things, I've read through Mind Management and those, and working my way through Manifest Destiny, anxiously awaiting my Core of Discovery pledge to get there.
Awesome read.
So Harrow County I'll get to after.
Great read.
I'm a completionist, so I'm gonna complete.
My next one is I will say it's a seminal comic book. Seminal.
Okay. All right. Seminal comic book
from back in the day, huh?
Just keeps dropping.
My brain is.
I know.
Is cooking right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like.
I'll tell you a comic I really want to do that I cannot find a way to contact the IP owner I just can't find a way. But it's called Crossover. I'm not sure you heard it. Donnie Cates wrote it, called Crossover.
Okay.
Oh, it's such a cool story, man. It's just, I love the comics. It was like one of my more recent, like, this is awesome kind of feeling when you're reading it. And it's basically a story, and it's a really bizarre story about I think in Denver, a while ago, all the fictional characters that ever existed came to life and came into Denver. And then this takes place years after that, and somehow they created a dome around Denver. And is it to keep people from getting in or to keep them from getting out? It's not very clear.
Interesting.
But the whole story is in this comic is a serial killer is going around killing off comic book writers and real comic book writers. And so their characters in this thing, and their fictional characters are in it. Like, it's Brian Michael Bendis is in it, and so are Christian and Dina Pilgrim from Powers.
From Powers, yeah.
They're in it. And it's like,
Oh, wow.
It's just so cool and bizarre. And so, man, I would love to do crossover and use characters from all my other games and other possible games, right? And do this big, massive playground of indie comics in this. It'd be amazing. But I don't know how to contact this guy. I really don't.
See, I'm
He's
like,
off the grid
my brain is still churning on comics ideas. I'm like, suddenly I'm coming up with a bunch more ideas. Like, but especially since you're talking about older ones, because I'm thinking like Flaming Carrot and The Tick and like stuff like that. I mean, I can't imagine. Wow, a Tick game would be crazy. It would probably be zany, like a Madman one, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then I've in the past I've mentioned Saga to you. I know you're a fan of Saga. How would you do that?
How would you do it? And then I can't like the rights seem like it would be very expensive for some reason. I don't know why. It just feels like it would be. I don't know. Does he own it? Does Brian own it?
Yeah. It's Image, right? So,
but it feels like it's already tied up in like Hollywood somehow. I bet you.
Probably, yeah, because Brian K. Vaughan definitely has strong ties with Hollywood. He's done some scripts and other stuff.
So I bet that'd be amazing.
Wasn't there a Why the Last Man
show? There was a show.
Yeah,
the whole season. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, Something is Killing the Children would be awesome. I would like that. Criminal, Brubaker.
Oh yeah, Brubaker. Yep.
And I have a really bizarre idea for what I would do for it too, if I could ever get that one. So it'd be like half role-playing game.
What a cool space to play in, man.
It's so fun. I find the constraint of an IP to be very motivating. To be very, it's not a restriction. There's a very famous activity about thinking outside the box. Everyone says think outside the box. And that's not exactly true. There's this activity I've done with groups where it's actually thinking inside a box. It's often way more creative. If I said, hey, come up with as many ideas as you could for a brick. And this is an activity you do with a lot of people. And people write down as many as you can really fast. And as you go around the room, like a lot of them overlap because people think of the same kind of common things as a doorstop and all this stuff. But then all of a sudden they say, okay, now each group of people come up with a location first, and then now what? So that's a constraint. Where can you use a brick in that location? A bathroom on Mars, in a convenience store, and all of a sudden the ideas are all different. Everybody's ideas are all different, and I just find that a very often constraints are very liberating.
Yeah.
Oh, I 100% agree. Like, I as someone who has been trying to like pick up a pencil and draw again, like I've literally have like decades now of me thinking of things I'd like to draw and not having the time or not dedicating the time to drawing them. So then when I sit down in front of a blank sheet of paper with a pencil and I can draw whatever I want, I don't know what I want to draw. And a lot of my professional career was about working within constraints and designing to fill that sandbox, right? And so when someone gives me something that's like something to like latch onto, it's like boom, it's like a speck of dust in an oyster, and you're just like making that pearl.
Have you heard of the games that Sen and I designed called Belfort or Akrotiri? you heard of those?
I've
two
heard of
games?
Akrotiri, yes.
Two-player
I
game.
don't think I've heard of the other one.
Belfort. That was our first game that we designed and got picked. Got signed. And Josh Capel did the art and graphic design. Is really cool. You can see a little bit of it right there.
Oh, nice.
Anyways, both of those games started because when Seth and I first started making games, there was no resources online about what to do with games. There was no help at all back in 2006 or 2007. And so we had about 5 or 6 games. We're like, what do we do with these games? Like, how do we pitch them? And we're like, our thought was we were going to be physically mailing prototypes randomly to publishers. That's how we would pitch them. That's what we thought. And I thought, you know, it'd be really cute. What if we made these little games that kind of folded up in a little matchbox, and it kind of went, and we're not pitching it, but it's like, hey, here's a little game. For some reason, I thought that'd be a cute idea. We never ended up doing it, but we said, okay, let's make a little matchbox game. And we had this little, it could only be 25 tiles big. And we're like, okay, let's do that. And we made a game, and it was called something, I don't know. It was about real estate, and it was tile-based type thing and whatever. It was really cool, and I really enjoyed the experience of making this little, 25 tile game. We're like, I wonder if we can make any more. And so we made another one, ended up being Akrotiri. Made another one, ended up being Belfort, which is a huge game. And we made one called This Town Ain't Big Enough for the 2 to 4 of Us, which Tasty Minstrel Games bought during that whole, it's a great name. Best name of any game. That is
great. I love that.
It's the best name of any game of all time. And Tasty Minstrel bought that back in the day. Remember the micro game fad? Were you around during that time? It was a pay what you can for these mini games. And that was one of them.
Yeah.
This Town Ain't Big Enough for the 2 to 4. It's just a 25 tile game. So we got a lot of traction out of that one little exercise of constraint. It was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun. One of the things that we've been doing at the school that I work at is I've got a group of kids that are doing like a game design class, and it's so fun to see the ideas that come out of these kiddos but to put those constraints, that's a great idea to talk to them about and just say like, hey, here's a box to think within, because we get stuff that goes all over the place, but to actually kind of focus them in a little bit more.
Pointing fact that I've been teaching game design at a college here, part of the video game college for Vancouver Film School for 10 years. And when I first started teaching it, their final project was making a board game. And they were just all over the place, kind of like what you're saying. And so I started adding constraints. Okay, it's got to be playable in under an hour. Like that's first and foremost. And then it still kind of the scope creep would get to them. And so then I started saying, okay, it can't have more than 10 components in the component list. Not 10 pieces, but just 10 components, like one deck of cards.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff. And sometimes they'd be fighting me like, can we have 2 more, please? I'm like, nope, figure it out. Like redesign it, whatever, but you can't have more. It's for your own good, not for me. Right. Like it's getting too big. If it's getting like, it's not the kind of game you need to design for this class. And so I just kept adding constraints, and all of a sudden now, for the last 5 years at least, it's been like way better games coming from them.
That's
nice.
Cool. Yeah,
very nice. Wow. All right. So tell us. I guess that's where the fail faster journal kind of sprung forth from, right?
Kind of. There was definitely some aspect of in class. We have a little sheet that they kind of mark off when they're play testing, and it was just very, very basic. And it actually came from the fact that a week or 2 weeks before I was going to the Gathering of Friends, which is this kind of like insider only Alan Moon event that he runs every year for game designers and publishers to get together. And for me, it's my favorite time of the year to pitch games, and it's wonderful. And so 2 weeks before that, it also coincided with my birthday. I decided to rent out a room in the bottom of the apartment kind of thing, and invited all my game design friends and other friends, and like, hey, we're doing play tests. I got to get all my games tested a couple more times before we go. So I just had everyone come over, and then because it was also my birthday, I'm like, okay, I had food and all this kind of stuff, but I'm like, well, maybe I should have some like party favors. But I'm like, what kind of party favors do game designers want? Like a bag of meeples? What do they want? And I'm like, oh, what if it was like a little, and I thought like a little journal-y thing. Like I thought, and I made pretty much an alpha version of that. And I made it, printed it at Staples, and kind of had it stapled, and gave everybody a copy of this little journal. And I just didn't think anything of it. But as the weeks go by, people are like, "Hey, I never made your party. Do you have any more of those journal things?" I'm like, "Oh, I do. I made some more. Here you go." And then weeks later, somebody says, "Hey, I'm finished mine. Do you have any more? I want to keep doing it." I'm like, "Wow!" And people kept asking for it of the that went. I'm like, "Is this something to this?" And so that's when I'm like, I hired a graphic designer and we kind of like made it a thing. And it's that's how it started, just from a weird situation. It's that whole idea of like, yeah, you could say I was lucky, but it was also a good idea maybe, but paired with the experience and the opportunity. That's, I think, the key thing.
Well, I mean, like, you set out to solve a problem, and apparently you solved it better than you expected.
Yeah.
And you solved a different problem to boot. So, like,
Yeah.
That kind of serendipity is
Nice.
is hard to.
And then I've been trying to grow that brand, so then I started like an online course. I still have to go back in. I want to do a whole second course on that, let alone I have ideas for a third course on that. So I want to do that. So it's like an online self-paced, you do it at your own, pace kind of thing. But there's like, I interviewed like 10 other big game designers, like Matt Leacock, and like all these big name on topics that I taught. So they give their insights about the things that I'm teaching as well. So it's like pretty in-depth and awesome. And then that's done. I've got coming out in February this thing called Design Your Destiny, which is basically it's looks like this, and it's a fiction book where you can read this fiction book of a time travel story, and then every few chapters is a game that you play as the kids in the story. And the thing is, each of the games is broken. And then the next few pages start to teach you and guide you of like ways, how could you fix this game? Why is this game broken? What's wrong with it? And what can we do? And they kind of guide you. So it's, to me, the most awesome way to onboard somebody into the world of games, let alone game design. So if you're like a game designer or just a gamer, and this is a great way to get your kids thinking differently about games, of like, why are games like Snakes and Ladders get boring after like 12 minutes for certain kids, like boring for us after 2 minutes. But after, kids play it, there's value in Snakes and Ladders as a kid, as you learn to roll dice and count and all this kind of stuff. But eventually you get old enough where it's just like 7, 8, 9, and all of a sudden it's like, why is this boring? It's like, well, how many decisions did you make during this game? Well, and if you really think about it, the answer is 0. Like, you've made 0 decisions in this game. So that kind of stuff, we actually take them through the logic of like, so how can we add decisions to these games and stuff like that? So and you earn stickers and you fix the time machine and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's just, some of the way that I've learned, through just playing games and learning and trying to work with these kiddos. It's that process of like, why does this need to happen, or why does this happen now, or how do we mitigate this problem? It's getting them to think, a couple of steps down the road, but also within the framework of what are you trying to do as a whole with the game. And there's just lots of different it's getting them to think a little bit deeper rather than the games that they're just used to. Because I think every single one of them have come up with okay, we're going to roll dice and we're going to move down a track till we hit to the end. But thinking abstractly, or thinking, let's take a track off the board and let's look at an open space. It's there's just so many ways to take them. But how do you channel it when you've got them for 45 minutes, a day, and you've got them for 9 weeks, and trying to focus some of those ideas into it. So. Yeah, it's been fun.
And I think it's, having spent so much time playing so many different kinds of games over the years, I've come to appreciate games that are less complex a lot more, right? Like when I was a hobby nerd in my teenage years, like it was all about the big game day that you had. You're basically playing all day, maybe having a sleepover with your buddies, playing for hours and hours and hours, like Axis and Allies, or like diplomacy or something huge like that. And like for years, like that concept of games just kind of calcified in my head. And then I got out of board games for a while, and was playing video games mostly, and like kind of experiencing the diversity of video games and realizing that I was gravitating towards the video games that owed a lot of their heritage to the board games that I
Sure.
grew up on, right? Like RTS games, that sort of thing. Um, and then taking over as the editor in chief of Tabletop after kind of getting back into tabletop games, like, wholeheartedly, like I had, um, just, I kind of went into it thinking, all right, I need to challenge my ideas about games and kind of try to experience, mechanics and game types that I either missed out on all these years that I wasn't playing, or never really gave much of a chance to begin with. Um, I'm actually kind of going through something like that right now, but with my wife. My wife is writing a my wife is writing a game review for our site. It's the first
Hmm.
time that this is happening. Dan doesn't even know about this.
I don't.
She's been quietly working on this game, on a game review for this game, so long that it has switched publishers. And we'd done some coverage for the first iteration, and then when I found out that they were doing a second printing at the new company, I was like, hey, remember that game that you were writing about, that you really loved this game? Do you want to finish a review and post a review of it? And she's like, okay, yeah. That game is Gentle Rain by Kevin Wilson.
Yes.
Mhm.
Kevin Wilson is known for much heavier games.
Sure.
He did a lot of work at Asmodee.
Descent, right?
Yeah, he
Descent?
worked on Descent,
Mhm.
and now he's basically been making all of the Incredible Dream games, like the Kinfire Chronicles and
yeah.
Kinfire Delve, Kinfire Council. But I never made the connection, right? Like we started covering Incredible Dream and started, reviewing those games, and they're like, hey, you want to review this game? And I was like, I know this game. And it is it is it is almost more of a meditative experience than it is a game. There is
Yeah.
a puzzle element to it,
Sure.
but it's definitely far off the beaten path of like the kind of games that I tend to play. But my wife loves it. Like she really enjoys it.
That's great.
And she has been playing the game with me through her perspective, and like been kind of walking through it, and I'm like, okay, this is super cool. But again, it's like, the mechanics are very, very basic. The theme, it's all about the theme and kind of the meditative experience.
Sure. That's what he was going for sure.
Yeah, it's what he was going for, and I think he pulled it off.
That's great.
So
I have a request for you two and for any viewers or listeners that are watching this. I have this next project, and I want to run it by you and get your thoughts prior to this happening, and let me know your honest thoughts on it. Is this a marketable idea concept, and is it worth pursuing? I think it is, and I am pursuing it, so hopefully you say yes. But don't
want
feel
validation, sir.
a little bit, but you could
bit.
maybe give me some flags of like, hey, maybe watch out for this, because that might not work in the market. So fortunately, you both know mind management, and so for a long time I was trying to think what else I can do with that. Can I make like a pocket version, a travel version, my first mind management, this kind of thing? And it all came down to the fact that IP is also not very my firsty. It's so I'm like, okay, that doesn't work. So the idea I have is, what if I took the theme entirely off? The IP is off, but I took the mechanics and I simplified, I streamlined, and I turned that game into a family game, with anthropomorphic animals and some other storyline that had no comic connection, and but got it without the shift system. Just like here's the core game, again, as simplified, as streamlined as possible, which we've been working on. Would that be a marketable game, you think?
I think anything, and this is just, from me. I've got some families that family members that aren't really always down to play the games that I want to play. So trying to expose them to different mechanics, or mechanisms, and just different things that they wouldn't normally see in, say, your mainline games that you're going to see in a big box store or something like that. So I think anything that exposes people to different mechanisms in games, different ways of thinking, and shows, especially at an earlier age, just a different way of looking at what a board game can be, is always something that I'm going to push on to people. I was very excited about, the project you're just talking about with the storybook, to give a shout out to another company that I was looking at with Van Ryder Games. They just came out with Gateway Island, which had all of those really cool, just amazing little games that taught just mechanisms to kids. And I pushed that on, that same class I've been talking about, just to teach them how to do different things than just rolling dice and going down a track. So in my opinion, yes, because if it's a hidden movement and it's introducing hidden movement into a way that's going to get kids interested in something deeper and interested in the hobby, that's I'm saying man. All for it. Yeah. So
Mike?
I'm inclined to agree. And I think we're very lucky now that the kids coming up these days have a lot of this terminology and these concepts kind of baked in early on, because they're playing video games early. Like, video games are mainstream now.
But not only that, there's so many more kids versions of games that exist. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Star Realms Academy. My 7-year-old kids love that. It's like Star Realms, but without any text on it. So it's super easy for them to play. They love it.
Yeah, Scythe Junior.
Designed here in Vancouver. I've play tested it back in the day. It's fun.
Oh yeah.
My little scythe.
My little scythe. That's what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's.
They just announced Cascadia Junior today.
That's right. They did.
Oh yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
I think it's. Honestly, I think it's a smart play, because you're going to now. I do wish. I think something that some of those other games that we just mentioned have that you might lose by kind of by not attaching it to the tying it back to mind management is that hook for
familiarity.
The parents.
Yes,
right.
Totally.
The parents who want to get their kids into games, like
this will be something they've never heard of. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I almost wonder.
In the ads that are targeting towards adults, I'll have to say, leveraging the mechanics of mind management or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. So or you could take a trick out of the '80s playbook, which is anything can be turned into a kid's property if you do it right. Right? Like, there was a Saturday morning Rambo cartoon. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a Saturday morning Beetlejuice cartoon.
Oh yeah.
Like,
that was a great one.
It was great. And it's a good like it's the threads were thin and sorely tested, but they were there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, maybe that's something to go back to Matt with and go like, hey, if you were going to make a kid's version of mind management,
and
how would you do this?
Now, this is not a knock against Matt at all, but his art is divisive, right?
Oh, sure.
Obviously, I love it. As I told you in my story earlier, I have art of his hanging in my office. Like, I love his art. I love that style, this style right here. But it's not mass friendly.
Yeah.
Right.
And he knows that too. So I obviously I'm not using him. I'm using, getting, more family friendly art as well to the whole thing.
Yeah. No, you'd have to go the Hanna-Barbera approach, right?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Have a style, like Root has a style, or Creature Comforts has a style, have a style.
Yeah.
And so here was my dilemma was then, so I'm glad you both think that there's a potential. So that's a step in the right direction. And then my thought in my head was like, okay, so what do I do? Do I have to start up another company? Because it's not based on comics, so that's kind of
Right.
frustrating. And I talked to my distributor about it, and they said, no, don't do that. They said for
Yeah,
two
don't do
reasons.
that.
One, you gotta do all new contracts with all your suppliers, and they
Mhm.
may or may not want to do that. So that's something. And then two, you're starting at zero for marketing, like zero, if you
Mhm.
do that. Like no emails, nothing. So how are you gonna do
Yeah.
that? I'm like, yeah, but my brand is about making comic books into games. And he's like, people don't care. Nobody cares. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I think some people do care. Like, I think people are telling me, and you've already told me this, like, hey, what's your next game? I want to go read the comic. Like, people know that my games are based on good comics. So
Mhm.
you might have already predicted the solution that I'm about to say. I've hired a well-known comic book writer to write a comic, and
Mm.
we're gonna do just a web comic. I'm not interested in getting into
Yeah.
like comic distribution, but we're gonna do a
Yeah.
web comic leading up to the launch of this. And the plan is that if this does well, the storyline's already figured out of how this is gonna happen. There's like some evil mushroom lord that's trying to take over the forest, and the anthropomorphic animal creatures are trying to find them and everything, like just like in Mind Management. But
Mhm.
that's the game. And then in the world, the story's going to continue where the mushroom king actually wins and just takes over the forest. They have to leave and they have to go find a new place to live. And so how are they going to do that? Well, they're going to do that using a family streamlined version of Core Discovery. And so
Mm.
Nice. Okay.
so
Mhm.
now they have
I
to
see.
explore, and yeah.
Ah,
And we already have
that's
the
good.
third game, which was going to be a game I was trying to pitch to a comic book IP, and they were just very, very slow in responding to everything. So much so that now that since this idea has come up, I'm like, wait, that fits much better in this universe. And so I have up to 3 games already ready to go. Oh, not ready to go, but like if it does well, the first one, we can keep going.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's great. Yeah.
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 So,
Well,
all right, I have a question for you, real quick, Jay. If one of the big companies came to you,
Like
and
comic book
said,
companies or publishers?
comic book companies
Okay, yeah.
came to you and were like, we want you to make a game based off of one of our properties.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying like it would have to be like a superhero genre game, right?
Right, because I
Like,
don't I actually was offered to do a Batman game. It was like Three Jokers. It was one of his
Mm.
comics called Three Jokers.
yeah,
So
yeah, okay.
I read it just to make sure I read it because I don't read any of those stories. And I'm like I didn't love it. If I loved it, that would have been a tougher decision. But I didn't love it, so that was pretty much it. But again, I was thinking myself like at a convention of it. My management, Harrow County, Core Discovery, Batman. It doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. So, but continue on with your story. Your question.
Right. So I'm thinking something along the lines of like,
Sandman or
a Vertigo title,
sure,
or like
Preacher.
an epic
Right,
comics
Fables,
title kind
yeah.
of thing.
Mhm.
What would be the thing that you'd be excited about? Like what would you come back to them with? And I'm
Meaning,
totally putting you on the spot here.
like which comics you mean, or
Yeah, which comic?
well,
Which one do you think you could do?
as I said before, Criminal, I would do.
Yep.
That to me is big for me, and Crossover, which you haven't heard of, but it's awesome. I would do those two. I would be hesitant to do Sandman, my favorite comic of all time, not just because of the recent Neil Gaiman allegations that are going on.
Right.
That's its own thing. Just more
Mhm.
because that it's one of those things that's just so for me. It's so
Yeah.
awesome that I don't know how someone would even turn that into a game. I'm sure it's going to happen in our lifetime, but I would love maybe I don't even know if I would love the opportunity or not. It's just so weird because it's
Well, and I'm sure you'll agree with me. I personally, in my opinion, I think it's one of the greatest pieces of fiction that
it is my
has
favorite.
been published in my
It's
life.
my favorite. It's my favorite of all time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I like stories. And that's my
Mhm.
favorite thing. I like stories. And when I watch movies, even my friends know characters are so important for sure. But I like plot. It has to have a good plot and it's a good story. And that's what Sandman's all about. It's all about stories. The whole
Mhm.
thing is about stories. And so
Yeah.
I just love it so much.
Yeah.
So that would be the king, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know if I would touch it or not. I'd have to really think about it a long time. But as far as other comics, what other comics would I do that would be? There's so many like adulty, like the Saga and Something is Killing the Children, like the big
Right.
You know, these big hits that I'd love to do, like Planetary. But again, Ellis is such an odd duck that I don't know if I want to get involved with that. But Planetary is
Right.
also one of my, again, about stories, right? Planetary is about
Mhm.
fiction. If you've ever read that, it's so wonderful. It's so cool. I
Yeah.
love
So
Planetary.
something that mind management I felt, and this might be like a little too much overlap in terms of theme and concepts, but Grant Morrison's The Invisibles,
Yeah, I've heard. I think you
kind
posted
of,
that, and other people. I never
yeah.
got into that. I don't know if it had political overtones that I just didn't. I couldn't get into it too much. I think I read the first trade, and it never compelled me to read more. Something about it too anarchistic or something. You
It
know.
started in that place and it evolved and went
Oh, maybe I should
really
say.
weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair.
It was like, did you ever read his Doom Patrol at all?
No, because again, it's just kind of too superhero-y.
Yeah, well, the Doom Patrol was like about as far gone from
I
superhero-y
see.
as they could get with a
Right.
superhero comic.
Yeah.
But like Invisibles was kind of like, it was like that, but completely unfettered by the constraints of
Hmm.
anything like any superhero continuity or anything like that.
I'd even love to
It's
do like one of these horror comics, like just like a House of
oh
Mystery
yeah.
game. Imagine that. That would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Just because I was
we looked at a creep show game
really.
at Gen Con this year, and it was pretty
Oh,
cool.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. But
Um,
yeah, like some of that old EC stuff would be killer,
that'd be
you
pretty
know,
cool.
or even something Mad Magazine, right? Like something like that would be wild. Like
Man,
some of that old early stuff, like you brought up Gru earlier, right?
oh, I'd love to do
Gru,
something with Sergio
yeah.
Aragones, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'd be all over that. That'd be
And
amazing.
I mean, there's been a few games.
Yeah,
I know there was a Munchkin, a
Gru.
Gru
Yeah,
themed
yeah,
Munchkin,
yeah.
and I think there was a Flux too or something.
Probably.
But
Yeah,
nothing really dedicated to the theme of the
yeah,
comic. I think.
yeah. But yeah, I'm constantly reading more and more. I'd love to do anything by Jeff Lemire, like Black
Oh yeah,
Hammer. You know, I even had an
yeah.
idea, and we pitched it to him. It's just there's some rights issue right now with it, so maybe someday that'll come to fruition.
Hmm.
It's not nothing to do with him. It's like Hollywood is something,
Mm.
something.
Right. No, that makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Well, awesome, man. Well, Jay, are you going to be at PAX Unplugged this year?
Not only am I going to be there, I've got a freaking booth.
Ooh.
What?
I'm a big boy.
No
Yeah.
way.
I've
That's
got a
awesome.
booth. I'm part of the Penny Quest, so I've got a really cool pin that you have to come by and check out because you know me, man. I can't do anything just half-assed. The pin is actually a functional promo item for Core of Discovery,
Oh,
and you got a scoop because it's the first time anybody would have heard of that. It's right
Okay.
here.
Well,
There
all
we
It's
go.
an
right.
actual it has an actual function in the game.
And this will actually be airing, I think. Oh no, it'll be next week. This will be showing. This will
Perfect.
be
So in
published
advance
next
of
week. So it'll
PAX
be
U, so great.
right
Yeah.
before PAX U. Maybe
Yep.
not right before, but like a week
Yeah.
before,
a
right?
couple
And
weeks.
then
Yeah.
I don't
That's
think I have any here to show, but you've seen the no, I don't shoot. You came by Gen Con. I gave you one of my pens, right?
I don't
must
think
have.
so. That
You
might
don't
have
know what
been
I'm talking about?
that
My
might have been
pen?
someone else on the team. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't have
I
any
know,
handy
right?
here. But you have to come by if you're a fan of Harrow County because the pen also is an actual promo item. It
Then
actually
yes.
has some function in the game.
Mm.
How
Yes,
could that
absolutely.
be? I wonder.
Absolutely. Oh, okay.
It's awesome.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I can't wait
That's
to see
awesome.
it. I can't wait
Yeah.
to see it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely have to make some time to come by the off the page games.
We
booth
have
at
made an
PAX Unplugged.
oversized Harrow County box where you can take the cubes and drop them into the box.
What?
Great.
That's how you
That's
how you
awesome.
win a pen. You can win a pen if you want.
Oh,
Okay.
that's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm
That's good.
game. I'm game.
Mhm.
And we'll be sure to put our Harrow County review link in the description.
Great.
So you can check that out. Obviously I'm talking to the viewers because I know
Yeah.
you've seen
Hi,
it
viewers.
already, Jay.
And I hope the viewers comment about my thoughts on this mind management family version and just there's other
Yeah.
things I should
Yeah.
think about and like how to do that and so yeah.
No, absolutely.
I'd like
and
to hear everybody's
yeah,
thoughts.
we'll definitely pass on any juicy tidbits that
Yeah.
our viewers may come up with.
Thank you.
But yeah, Jay, thanks for coming on.
Great hanging out with you guys. This is fun
I
to
would
Yeah.
love to have you do this again sometime. Come back sometime and nerd out with us for another hour.
Yeah, maybe we'll do something around the announcement of the next game. Well, seems like this
Yeah.
might
I like
be a
it.
good partnership to do that with.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
I like it. You might have to tell me the comic in advance though, so that I can
course.
read up.
Of course, I'm sure.
That's
I'm
true.
sure you've read this one.
Okay, all right. Well, then, yeah. No, I'm. When do you think you might be announcing this?
It's a good question. Maybe January-ish. Like I'm hoping.
Okay.
I'm thinking we might go to Kickstarter April-ish, maybe May, if we can
Great.
get our stuff together. We're still like the 3-player version is tight.
Okay.
But the fourth is just we had to start from scratch. So fourth player we have to figure out entirely, and I'm not sure if that's going to be an easy process or a long process.
It's the joy of the journey.
That's
of
right.
Making a game.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, thanks, Jay.
Oh, this is the
Definitely-
last thing. I
definitely
know you're
big
trying to wrap
fan.
up.
Oh
This
yeah,
is-
yeah, yeah.
I'm going to tease with one cool thing.
Okay.
You won't even understand how it's relevant, but this game that we're doing, which ignore the IP for a second, it has a component that's never been seen in a game before, never been used in a game before, and this is the bare bones prototype version of it. But this is the component, and so this component is very, very interesting. There's 3 of them in the game, and it's a really weird contraption in which you put these tokens in here, and the tokens all have different weight. And depending on the size weight of the token, eventually at some point, this little thing is going to fall because there's a little seesaw in there. And as you put more and more tokens in, thunk, this is going to fall, and that's going to trigger a massacre phase in which everybody goes guns out ballistic. So it's a mechanic that uses weight, but not in a dexterity type of game. It uses it as a timer, an uncertain and variable timer. It's so
Wow.
cool.
Well, my curiosity is definitely piqued.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, we'll be sure to extract more information
Right.
out of you soon, and let everybody know what this cool new mechanic is.
Yep.
How this works with this cool new game you're doing.
Yep.
But in the meantime, look forward to seeing you at PAX Unplugged. And
Awesome. Yeah. Come by.
Yeah.
Everybody come by.
Yeah, everybody come by, and everybody hit that like, hit that subscribe. You know, keep on watching Tabletop Throwdown, and as we keep on bringing more special guests like Jay Cormier to come and chat with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, thank you.
See you guys.